Okay, so today we have two purposes. One is to talk about the TNT, Tattum Nonsense Test, and the TST, the Tattum Sight Word Test, kind of the purpose of it. And we've simplified the scoring greatly. So it's pretty straightforward now. George made a modification of putting the word list horizontal rather than vertical, because on Zoom, going down horizontal caused some problems. Or going down vertically caused some problems. So you're going to see some changes in that. And but let me just talk about what my purpose in creating those. The main aspect is that if you don't have access to the tower, which deals with nonsense words and sight words, this gives you similar information, not as a grade level, but as a percent of, and basically I have it broken down like the sight words into what grade level you're actually working with, but it's meant as a handy tool to show your progress with nonsense words and with real words. And the nonsense words, different from Woodcock Johnson, which has a great word attack, and the tower actually follows my program. So on the nonsense words, the 20 words, as you're going through the words, you're actually checking how the kid knows the program, because it starts with closed syllables, just like our program does, and then it'll add teams and then blends, and then I'll move into the vowel tag, and then I'll move into the vowel change in our family diphthongs and a few green, yellows, and reds. So you're basically, the difference between mine and others is you're actually kind of seeing how far can they go in our program. So it should naturally improve as the child goes through the program, because if they're a start 2, they may only get up to word 5 and then make 4 consecutive errors. And then as they go through the program, they may be able to get through much further in it. Okay. So I created it as kind of a measure of how well their nonsense words are growing in our program, how well the program is. Then the sight word test is how well they're doing on true sight words, because many sight word tests will have the phonetic words mixed in, and these are true sight words, and that'll tell us how the child's word form area is. Okay. So if they can't do any sight words, obviously their word form area is not good. But let's say they can't do anything in nonsense words, but they know a lot of sight words, that's encouraging, because that could mean that their word form area is firing. And therefore, once phonics starts taking, we might get faster growth. So I look at these two tests to see how's the child's decoding based on our program, how's their word form area. That's what I look at it as, okay? And it gives me good information on those two. So let's look at the simplified directions. We no longer have an informal test, okay? So the Tattum nonsense word test and the Tattum sight word test are assessments of teachers who do not have access to standardized tests because of cost and or training. So this would be at a school that needs something, or an individual tutor. The TNT measures growth in word attack in a much more thorough manner than the Woodcock. By that, what we mean is my word attack follows my program, a scope and sequence. It's not kind of, whereas the Woodcock has a different premise it's working from. It has lots of nonsense, but in mine, you know exactly how they're doing in the program. And the TST addresses the most frequent irregular words, okay? So the TNT test, let's look, I'm gonna give you a moment. I'm not gonna just read you. I'm just gonna give you a moment to glance at this. Well, actually, since we're filming, let's do this. This nonsense word attack test begins with closed syllables and ends with multi-syllable words addressing a variety of sounds. So in other words, this follows the Tattum reading program is what we're saying here. I have 4 different lists, okay, of nonsense words, but I have one version for kindergarten and one for the other grades. The kindergarten list have 10 words and the others have 20. Now, basically, they're simple reason. Kindergarten kids who are starting, we may be able to sound out the first 5 words. And by the end of kindergarten, maybe the first 10. So I only included 10 words. If they can do better than that, that's great. So for the kindergarten list, I have 10 words, whereas all the other lists have all 20 nonsense words. I don't expect a kindergarten kid to be able to do words like Stoitrob, which are you're getting in my higher in the full 20. Most kindergarten kids, unless they have their word form area, are still working on one syllable words with short vowels. Okay. So we have 4 lists in nonsense, but we also have 4 kindergarten lists. Each list has 4 forms. That addresses the same syllable pattern. So I basically have 4 forms, but they all are addressing the order of my program in nonsense. So when you're doing Form A, you're testing how well the kid knows nonsense words in my program. When you do 4B, you're seeing the same thing, but with slightly different words, but the same premise. C is the same thing. D, so you're actually measuring correctly different forms of the same sequence. Okay. All right. The tutor should miss Form A at intake, of course, and then B midway and C at the end, or D. You can actually practice with C or C or D. To students a long-termer, can use Form D as an added point of reference. So you have 4 that you can use. 1 at the beginning, 1 or 2 in the middle, and then 1 at the end. Okay. So directions, very simple. I'll kind of summarize it. 60 seconds. Okay, 60 seconds. They get the sound out a word. They get 2 tries. In other words, they could go B. If the word is Bex, they could go B, X, B, Bex. Okay. If they want B, X, B, X, Bex, it's okay. They get a second try. That's to help them, because a lot of kids will be, when they're sounding out words, they won't get the word until they sound it out. So when they go B, X, I let them say Bex. Okay. Now if they go B, X, try it again, B, X, Bucks. No good. They didn't get. So if they went to 3rd time, they wouldn't get it. They get 2 tries. Okay. So the goal is they try to sound it out, get the word. Our goal is that they just say the whole syllable. Bex, Thucks. That's where we want to get. Okay. So this summarizes what I just said. Now they get 4 errors. So if they get 4 errors in a row, that's generally, most tests give you 4 errors in a row before they stop. So if he gets 4 errors in a row, you just stop, and how many words he got. If he got 5 words, you would then get your percentage. If he gets 4 errors at the end, the last 4 word, so basically you stop at 4th error, because we don't want to depress the child. Okay. The TNT is scored as a percentage of correct words in 60 seconds. Okay. So this score should be going up. So if I have an A, a kid can do 5% or 10%, maybe 2 words. That's great for A. And then, 2 months later does 80%. That's showing a lot of growth. Okay. So you get 60 seconds. Now the kindergarten gets 60 seconds with their list, the kindergarten list. 1st grade and above gets 60 seconds with their list. Okay. So notice, if you're only doing 10 words, you get 10% for each word. You get 2 words, it's 20%, right? If you're doing 20 words, you get 5% for each word. So if you got 18 correct, that would be 90%. So let's look at this practically. These are the directions you're given to the student. Now this is for the TST. I'm right now just going to take the TNT and look at its form. Okay. Here's the kindergarten form for the TNT. Okay. So if the child goes that would be wrong, but if they correct it and go that counts. Af, that's good. Ros, ras, that was more than 2, so it doesn't count. Okay, so that's Form A, B. Notice we only have 10 words, because a child at the end of kindergarten will, unless they have a good word form area, will have a hard time with these. Okay, so you got your 4 kindergarten lists. Then you have your regular list. Okay, so if I have a first, second, third grade, for above first grade, I want them to do this. And this is an entire phonics program if you can do this. Okay, so you get 60 seconds to do this. Let's look what 60 seconds looks like. I timed myself before the workshop. Now I'm going to do it at around 60, so you get it in. Let me see. I'll look at the clock here now. Okay. Ready? I'm going to go. M, af, ras, mun, bex, quex, presh, sprig, Christ, crinst, ring, tripe, flayed, mac knot, drip lop, dreadlop, promate, or they could say promate, flarster, glosstoy, hunubel, they got that wrong, be hunoibel. Salotion, Streinlincher or Streinlincher, and that's 60 seconds. So just to get a sense of kind of the speed they want to go. Now, what I'm hoping to get is faster than 60 seconds. I'm hoping to get this down to around 20 or 30. M, af, ras, mun, bex, quex, presh, sprig, crint, string, tripe, flayed. That's what I'm hoping to get quicker. Because when they can do that quick, they can sound out a word when they read quick. Okay, so I'm hoping to get it quicker. But anyway, 20, you give them 60 seconds and now they get a percent. Well, this guy only missed 1 word. So he got 19 right, which is 95%, which is incredible. And you know what? If he was a kid we're testing, he probably doesn't need phonics. If we're seeing him, it's probably a comprehension problem. If he did that on his Form A. Again, most of our kids will be breaking down here. So you got a Form B and a Form C and a D. Okay, 60 seconds. And if you're doing kindergarten, still 60 seconds, but they only have 10 words. Now, why am I still giving them 60 seconds? Well, let's look what a kindergarten kid's going to do. Ab, I mean, they're going to be processing the sounding out, a lot of kindergarten kids. That's why we give them the full 60 seconds. Okay. Now, if in 60 seconds they only sound out 2 words, that tells you you got a lot of fluency work you can do. Now, the antidote to the nonsense words, how we work on that in our program is in the reading of nonsense syllables, where we build the nonsense syllable and they quickly read it. And then at one point, we have them read the nonsense words as they are listed in the concept, right in the book. But it's the diagnostic syllables in the lessons book that really works on this, which I will cover a little later. Okay, about how to work on it. So the nonsense words, again, we have 2 tests. We have the kindergarten list. Whoops, that's TST, my fault. We have the kindergarten list and we have first grade and above, 60 seconds for both, only 10 words here. So 10% per word, 20 words here, 5% per word. And it gives you a nice beginning and you should see progress as you're moving through nonsense words. Okay. Now let's go to the TST. The TST, students start at the top of the word list and read out loud each of the words in order. The student gets 1 chance to correctly say the word out loud, not sound them out. So this is different than the nonsense. I just want to hear like run, car, it's sight word, stop. But, if they kind of go run, I'd give them credit, but we want them to get the sight words correct. They get a percentage of the score of number of words they read in 30 seconds. Now, why 30 seconds rather than 60? Well, sight word is measuring sight word. So in other words, they're not having to sound them out. They just know the words. That's our goal. Like the TNT, the initial assessment score will provide the baseline. So a child may start knowing, having 20% of the words and having 50%. Okay. Now, again, we have the kindergarten list for start one students. We have a list 2 for first and second, and list 3 for third grade or higher. There are 20 words in each list, such each correct word they read is worth 5%. Okay, now let me go to the sight word test. Okay, so here's the kindergarten list. These are words, when I looked them up, are pretty much, most of them are considered kindergarten words or very beginning first grade words. So a child with a word formulary in kindergarten should do well on this. A child who is in first grade should be able to do pretty well on this. If they can't do well on this, they really have problems with the word form area. Okay, so a kindergarten or a very beginning start one may end up just getting like reading across up to come, and maybe everything else is wrong. So that's 4 times, they get 20%, 4 times 5. That's really telling you they got huge word form area problems. Okay, they should be able to read these kindergarten and beginning first grade. All right, this is the first, second grade list that generally first and second graders should be able to read. So start 2s and 3s, I can do this. Then this is a start 4 list or a high start 3, third to sixth grades. And these are higher level sight words. Now I want you to note that most of these words are pure sight words. You could sound out here if you knew silent E, but they are pretty much pure sight words. They're not phonetic words for the most part. And that's why I set this test, because this is directly measuring word form area. Okay, so I got to start 1, I time him. Let's say they ace this for some reason, to start 1, I would go ahead and then do list 2. Okay, or let's say they get most of it right. I could go ahead and do another 30 seconds and do list 2. It's no big deal. Again, you stop after 4 errors. So if he makes 4 errors here, that's where you stop. If he misses all 4 of these, that's where you stop. Okay. All right. So again, you have your kindergarten list, your first, second grade list, etc. Okay. List 1. Okay. All right. Let's summarize now. Okay. 2 tests. Nonsense test to check out knowledge of the code, 60 seconds. Kindergarten, you're only doing 10 words. First grade and above, you're doing all 20. You get 60 seconds. What's your percentage? You start with Form A. They should be low, really low. By Form B, when you're ready to do Form B, they should be able to get higher because it's measuring the program. If they're not getting higher, you need to do more speed work on diagnostic syllables. So you have the nonsense word test. The sight word test is measuring the word form area. So if somebody's doing pretty well on list 1 and pretty well in 30 seconds, list 1, you go to list 2. List 2, they may get 10 words out of the 20. So they got 50%, okay? So that'll show improvement. Now, where we work on these sight words is in the list of 150 words in the lessons book. Let me show that. The lessons book and they're pretty close together. The lessons book has the 150 most frequent sight words, okay? So your kid is going to know a lot of these because these are phonetic. So I'm now recommending, and I made a slight shift here, that once you know what their sight words are, you just go and you try to time them on this list and see if they can do each one of these in 20 seconds. That's our goal. When they have trouble with a word, you'll reteach it, which I'll talk about at another time. We'll just quickly reteach that word. And our goal is to get that list. Once they're getting close to 20, we do this, and we do beat the clock with it. So they may take 30 seconds and then we'll do beat the clock. This is done 1 minute before you do your actual reading in your text. Is a quick look at sight words, okay? Kids who know these sight words, of course, you don't have to do them. But the reason we want to do them is these 150 words make up 50% of everything you really see, okay? And they are the most common words, okay? So this, again, if a child has done phonics, they're going to know and, they're going to know in, is, that, they're going to know it, they're going to know on, they're going to go with, his. That's okay. Our goal is to just get them fast with both phonetic words and non-phonetic words and just kind of move through this, okay? I'll talk another point about how to do that, okay? Now with the nonsense words, you can work on that directly by, if you're at concept, let's say, you're at concept 2, here's the concept, teams and blends, you want them to read this list, okay, beat the clock. Here's how most kids will read that, who are beginning this at a start 2 level. Qu, I, quip, it, quit, sh, shan, ish, ch, I. Takes about 40 seconds for a lot of kids beginning. Okay, so I say, let's beat our time. Let's see if we can get under 30. And they'll go quip, quit, and sham. And then my goal is to get them to beat 20. If you can get to 20, that's pretty good. 15 is good, and 10 or less is great. Now 10 or less is really where we want to be because the child's doing this. Quip, quit, shan, nish, cham, crop, theb, chud, quish, shucks. That's what we're shooting for. But practicing this will have direct results with the TNT test, the nonsense test. I want you to note that they get pretty hard. So when you're doing here like the yellows, I'll say, okay, just give the first sound of the yellows. 18 is the yellow. So they go sprimoy, fry me, bridow, or they could go bridow either way. Prausheiks, dristy, gridow, 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 Christoi. Now, so if I time them, I'll only have them do one of the sounds for this. When I practice, I can have them do both of them. Like this could be sprimoy or spremoy. Fry me, brido, bridow, 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 brido. But for a test, just give me the first sound you can. But these, you can see, get pretty hard. Okay. If you can go quick in this, you're going to do well on the TNT. Let's look at this list, 1 to 20. Cree, Wayfib, Drew Feasting, Fro Philoi, Charpordu, Musaunu, Brief Foitau, Grown Oystu, True Harner, Costo. Okay. They can do that quick. They can sound out any word. But I can also have them practice untimed where I have them try the multiple sounds. Like this could be Drew Feasting or Drew Feasting or Drew Feastine. It could be a multiple of things, okay? For the time, just give me your most prominent sounds. This will carry over to the TNT because the TNT is taking, I use these patterns as the patterns for my TNT because this follows the program. Okay. All right, let's hold for a second. So in summary, in order to improve in your fluency, you need to have a couple things connect. Speed of saying nonsense words, i.e. the TNT, in combination with your word form area firing and picking up more sight words. When the two connect, we make a huge jump in reading. And that's really what the test is measuring. Well, listen, they didn't know any nonsense. They didn't know many sight words. Now they know most of the nonsense and they know a lot of the sight words. So we're measuring improvement in speed of syllable work and improvement in sight words. Let me pause here and open it up for a few questions and go from there. Any questions about the TST or TNT? Does it make sense?
So I have a question. It's not about these tests per se, but are we at each 20 session assessment, should we still also be doing the tower assessments?
I'll let Mr. Hagler answer that.
Yes, for now.
Okay.
What's the answer, Steve?
Yes, for now.
Okay. All right, other questions? If not, we'll move on to writing. So we're okay. Do these directions. Give me, let's see, you can give me a reaction. Yeah, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if these directions make sense for TNT TST. Give me a thumb up or thumb down. Okay, thumbs up. Okay, cool. We met our goal. All right, now